All right, I'm going to call this April 2024 meeting of the Washington County Quorum Court to order. I appreciate seeing everybody here, appreciate being with our justices of the peace, all the citizens of Washington County. With that, we're going to do prayer and pledge. Justice Rio Stafford has agreed to do us the honor of prayer and pledge this evening.
Thank you, Lord. Judge. Dear Lord, this past month, thousands of people visited our state or traveled through our state to witness one of your rarest wonders, the total solar eclipse. Many of us who were fortunate enough to experience the totality came away filled with awe. It was moving, and for some, a spiritual experience. As my dad put it, it renewed my awe of God and his creations. In Psalm 8, it says, "When I look at the heavens and see the works of your fingers, I see the moon and the stars you created, and I wonder, what are mere mortals that you call them to mind? Human beings that you should care for them." As thousands of people in different places experience the same cosmic event, let it be a reminder that no matter where we are all here together. God has given us the gift and the responsibility to care for each other, for this world, and for the things in it. Together, let's honor the work of God's fingers. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justice Rio Stafford. With that, we're going to move to the adoption of the agenda. Any motions with regard to the agenda? Justice Lyons?
I'd like to amend the agenda to add two ordinances that have been passed out. One regarding the Eagle Crest conditional use permit.
Sorry, yeah.
No, any other way.
I'll second that.
And then the second one for the Motorsports. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion by Justice Lyons to add items 24-0-045 and item 24-0-042. I heard second by Justice Coker. Is that correct, Justice Coker? Yes. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Those two items will be added to the agenda. I'd like to move 042 to our first item, which will be new item number 8. Okay. And I want to add and I'd like to add item number 45 right before current item number 9. So we'll bookend item number 8 with the new ordinances. With that, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
By Justice Lyons, second by Justice Dennis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The agenda has been adopted as amended. Preliminary motions, Justice Dean.
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to make a motion that all ordinances and resolutions be read by title only.
Motion by Justice Dean to read ordinances and titles by ordinances and resolutions by title only. I think I saw second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Those opposed? All ordinances and resolutions will be read by title only. Item number 5 is a citizen comment period. We have a 15-minute comment period with a limit of 3 minutes per individual. Any citizen comments this evening? Please come forward and state your name and where you're from.
Good evening, Judge, Quorum Court. Diana Scott, 299 North Platinum in Fayetteville. My comments tonight regard the impending closure of the Crisis Stabilization Unit. I have heard through the grapevine over the last several months that they were having issues, but I didn't realize how critical it had gotten until recently. But I did do some research, and I'm really concerned that there isn't more of an effort being made to save this particular facility in our community. I watched the Finance and Budget Committee meeting online, and I was heartened to hear that originally you had been quite supportive of this concept. And I understand getting funding and the right vendor fit has been difficult, but there have been some mitigation measures that have, to the best of my knowledge, never been pursued, like a 23-hour crisis bed, mobile outreach, and collaboration with partner agencies. So, correct me if I'm wrong, these have never been pursued, and I asked this court why not. I also looked at the Arkansas Crisis Stabilization Study, which shows Pulaski and Sebastian counties as having great success with their CSUs. And in fact, the chief of police at Fort Smith said that since theirs had been up and running, they had reduced their arrest or their incarceration by 50, that's 50%. You know, these people are going to end up somewhere, and it costs money to keep them in jail. And in my opinion, it's very inhumane to do that to someone who has a mental illness problem. So I really want to encourage the Quorum Court to do all they can to keep the CSU open. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comments?
Good evening. My name is Annie Littell. I live at 517 East Johnson here in Fayetteville. And I would kind of echo what this other lady said, so I'll try some different things. I was at a meeting today where I heard that the up-and-coming mental health courts that are going to happen in Benton and Washington counties were kind of counting on this CSU as part of their, they mentioned it in their grants, and they need a place to send people to get stabilized with medicine or whatever it takes. So that's a consideration. And also, I just think, you know, the state has spent a lot of money on these things already, getting the building and the equipment, and I would hate to see that wasted. And we absolutely need more mental health services. So I would just like to encourage the court to either yourselves or maybe there's a staff person who could try to find another agency to operate this. I mean, it may not be possible, but let's not give it up. Let's try really hard to find somebody to run it. The meeting I was at today mentioned the community clinic, and the person there said he would look into it. He didn't have the authority, of course, to say yes or no, but so there might be other agencies that have some experience in medical or mental situations. So I would just encourage this to be pursued with great vigor to hopefully that we can keep this going. And apparently it's being underutilized is what I've heard, and so perhaps the person or agency that would take it over would need to do some work on letting people know, because from what I now understand, even a family could refer someone there. They don't have to be arrested to go there. They could just be having crisis. So if people would know more about that, there might be some families who would be very glad to refer their loved one there. So that not necessarily that that's the county's job, but the person who would take it over might need to do some diligent publicity and that sort of thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Public comments?
Good evening, Judge, members of the Quorum Court. My name is Dr. Lee Turner, and I reside at 590 North Rockcliffe Road here in Fayetteville. I'm also speaking to encourage you to keep the CSU open. To begin with, Arkansas is notable for many reasons. We all know this, for the natural beauty, outstanding academic programs at many of our colleges and universities, for the friendliness of our people. But regrettably, we are also notable for the high rate of incarceration and imprisonment. Arkansas jails incarcerate 522 people per 100,000 versus the U.S. average of 298 per 100,000. And the Arkansas prison rate is 911 per 100,000 versus the U.S. average of 560 per 100,000. And approximately 60% of the people in jail and prison have mental health issues. But jails and prisons don't provide the help they need. In fact, 3 in 5 do not receive any mental health treatment. Moreover, it's much more expensive. 1 year's worth of trial and jail time for each mentally ill person costs the state 20 times the cost of crisis treatment and counseling. In 2017, the state created the CSUs to address this need and to reduce overcrowding in jails and prisons. And has been noted earlier, based on a recent study, CSUs in our state are thriving, except for ours here in Northwest Arkansas. But instead of studying what others are doing right and finding a vendor that will put best practices into place, instead we're closing our CSU without, I believe, doing our due diligence. And we're taking services away from people who need them the very most. People who need a leg up, not a slap in the face. Further, we need to know if any of the pilot proposals that have been mentioned earlier, submitted by UAMS to the state to serve more people, were ever implemented. These included, as has been mentioned, a 23-hour crisis bed, a mobile outreach crisis assessment, really going to where mentally ill people are, and robust community partnerships, which the most successful CSUs are already doing. In conclusion, we need to do better, and we can do better. And from my personal experience, I know that services like CSU work. One of my family members has suffered from mental illness, but when the police were called to their home in another city and another state, they didn't arrest them. Rather, they placed them in a short-term inpatient facility and then connected them with long-term outpatient therapy.
Thank you, Doctor. Your time's expired. If you could wrap up your comments, we would appreciate it.
I'm happy to say that was over 5 years ago. They are happy and well-adjusted and making their own way.
Thank you. Public comments.
Sherry Main, 15451 Riches Road, Fayetteville. And I didn't make it to the Quorum Court meeting on March the 21st, but I did, however, I watched it via the live stream at home. And I just wanted to comment on something that happened during that meeting. The last item on the agenda, approximately 2 hours into the meeting, the Cup for the Kindness in Motion was heard. And there was a resident of Whittington Woods named Joe Mitchie, and he was representing several of the Whittington Woods neighbors regarding this particular cup. As he was speaking, he finished his speaking, and then asked if there was any questions of the JPs for him. And I'm directing this to you, Judge Deakins, not any of the Quorum Court members. One of the JPs badgered him with questioning and called him a liar. Mr. Mitchie came for the meeting to speak as a citizen of Washington County during public comment. It is hard enough to come to this seat before you and speak. Being treated this way is very unprofessional. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the meeting beginning at 2:02 timestamp. Mr. Mitchie deserves an apology, if not from this court, from a JP. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments.
Hello, I'm Terry Powell. I live at 15639 Quail Road in Fayetteville, so I'm across the street from the Kindness in Motion Cup. I purchased my property over 10 years ago to be out of the city in a natural country setting, and I did so with the intention of living here until I die or until I'm too old to maintain the property. But now that I have a commercial business in front of me, I started to question that decision, because I may now be forced to live here anyway because the property values may not allow me to find something else similar at a price that I can afford. This property is zoned residential, and commercial businesses should not be allowed, especially ones that bring in employees and customers to the neighborhood. I did some research in the Arkansas Code, and I found that in section 14-1-106, it defines home-based work as any occupation performed, or business conducted by a resident within a residence that is clearly incidental to and secondary to the principal use of the structure for residential dwelling purposes. Now, Sandy has a unique business model with the mobile vet service. As a cat owner myself, I understand the challenges of taking a pet to see a veterinarian. I would have no issue with this business in a residential area if it were only her operating from an office in her home and going elsewhere to see her patients, because that would be a true home-based business. However, she's added employees, customer visits, and an industrialized process with hazardous chemicals, so therefore it has ceased to be a home-based business. She was somehow able to hide this from her neighbors for several years because she didn't tell anyone what she was doing and didn't obtain the proper permits. I have yet to hear or see any evidence that the ADH or ADQ has approved permits for her business. It was only after she moved in the portable building in December and we received the CUP notice over the New Year's weekend that I learned what she was really doing. A separate commercial office building does not fit the definition of a home-based business. A commercial business that brings in employees and customers that don't live in this area creates concerns for all of the neighbors in this community, including the traffic, the safety, and security from theft. The chemicals associated with the aquamation process are especially concerning, particularly since there is no law or regulation for this process currently in the state of Arkansas. Even if she handles everything correctly, there's always the possibility of an accident, and then these chemicals are released into the air and the ground. How do you regulate something that has no law or regulation?
Ma'am, your time's expired. You need to wrap the comments
Okay,
up.
thank you. It's not the business that I have an issue with, it's the location. So I hope before you vote tonight that you ask yourself, would you want this business and these chemicals across the street from your home?
Thank you, ma'am. We've got about 2 minutes left in public comment period if there's anybody that wants to wrap us up. Seeing none, we're going to move on with the meeting. Item number 6 is approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? I have a motion to approve the minutes by Justice Lemming, second by Justice Ricker. All those in favor? Those opposed? The minutes have been approved. With that, we're going to run to the county judge's report. I have just a few things I want to update you guys on this evening. First of all, I want to thank the Farm Bureau Women's Committee for bringing us the snacks and everything tonight. That's much appreciated. Your hospitality is always recognized. Thank you so much. The disposal report's in your packet. More spring cleaning going on around the county, so you can see there's a lot of disposals going on, and we're trying to just clean things up and move machineries and IT equipment, stuff like that hasn't been used for years. Just trying to clean the county up is kind of we're in a spring cleaning mode too, just like everybody else is around the county. I have some exciting news. As you guys know, the Accelerate Foundation, we partnered with them with some of our ERA 2 money. They have released their RFP for that project. So you can go online and look at that. They're bringing affordable housing to Washington County. And so all that to say, this is a really good representation of how private and public partnerships can work together. Accelerate's been a wonderful partner to us. And I want to thank you guys on the Quorum Court for having the vision and the foresight to address housing in Washington County and do what we can from a county perspective. As you know, that's a pretty hot topic right now around our municipalities and around the county. And so, you know, once again, Washington County leading, and I appreciate you guys for stepping up and seeing the wisdom and using those funds. And I think we're going to get a really good bang for our buck there when they partner those with those low-income tax credits and things and bring in the private industry. And so hats off to you guys for that foresight. Paving season has started officially. Even though it started in earnest a few weeks ago, we've had some really good luck with the spring weather this year, and so we've gotten a little bit of a jump on some of our paving. All that to say that, you know, this is, once again, I remind everybody, this is an historic pursuit that we're under. If we get it accomplished, if we get 200 miles of paved road done in this county, this will be quite the accomplishment for us. We think we're on track for that. I just want all the citizens to know we're going to be all around the county this summer. Paving season runs from April 15th to October 15th. We're going to be all around the county doing road paving projects. And so be on the lookout for us to be near you very soon. And then also we just always ask that keep an eye out for our hardworking men and women in the road department. Try to keep them safe. Use caution when you're driving around those project areas, and so that we don't have any issues in that regard. So, really looking forward to that. RDOT had a groundbreaking this week for the eastern half of the 612 bypass, and more specifically the access road that they're going to build up to X and A. And so that was a really well-intended event, and I bring that up to you guys because as one of the counties involved in that board, we have a lot of leadership and involvement in X and A, and they've got a really good leadership team at X and A. And once again, this is going to be a major deal for our region and our area to get those roads over there to make the airport much more accessible. I want to give you guys a couple of construction updates. The CMP down at the COVID mitigation project down at our jail, we have signed contracts with Hyatt Jackson and Nabholz. They are working through all the design documents that they received. There are some work there that they wanted to put some more elbow grease into, mainly the mechanical engineering for that project. They wanted to put some more time and effort into that. So there is that project is still coming into focus, I'd say. And so they're working with the sheriff's department to make sure Sheriff Cantrell and his leadership have what the priorities of their main priorities, and of course we're always working underneath the budget to make sure that we're going to hit the numbers that we expect and what we can afford here in Washington County. The EOC, that project's moving along very well. I believe you guys have seen renderings of that. We hope to have some walkthrough models at some point that you guys can look at, but we're down. We've started working with Director Luther and his team to pick out finishings, and more this week they had a meeting to start talking about the audio visual and the technology that they need in that building. And like we've said before, that building is going to be very reliant on a lot of technology and a lot of electronics, and so they're trying to put that together. And so maybe we'll have an update for you guys very soon about where they decide to go with some of those needs. I will say that I promised you guys a while back, the building, of course, went above and beyond what we had in our ARPA funds remaining, and I told you we're going to work every way we can to bring more dollars to contribute to that project. We have turned in a grant application to Congressman Womack's office so that he can work with the federal government. What we've put in on that grant application is the federal government has funds specifically appropriated for Emergency Operations Center, and his office is helping us be a liaison to that. And what we've asked them to help us with is the FF&E, the furniture and equipment. So these AV needs might be something that we can work with Congressman Womack's office and get some federal support there, and that would, of course, be very welcome. The Election Commission hosted the Cyber Physical Election Infrastructure Security meeting this week. I want to thank Sheriff Cantrell and his team for hosting that down there at the Sheriff's Department in the East Annex, but also I want to thank our Election Commission for all the hard work they did. That was a regional meeting that they pulled in from ladies and gentlemen all across this region to come in and talk about issues that they might foresee in the cybersecurity realm, and then also with regard to our elections. And so once again, our Election Commission is a well-oiled machine, and they really lead the state in a lot of ways, and once again demonstrating that Washington County is leading in that regard and bringing on these types of information that could be very critical to everyone. The VSO Roadshow will continue. Look for that in the coming weeks. The next stop, we're going to try to do the west side of the county, southwest side of the county, Farmington, Prairie Grove, and Lincoln. And so we'll put out those details. We're looking to firm up that date, time, and location. And when I have that, I'll send that out to all you ladies and gentlemen so that you know about it. And then hopefully the public can help us promote that also. And so what those road shows do, we're trying to get out into the community and make sure that veterans know what benefits they're eligible for and what benefits are around here in this area so that they can become armed with that kind of knowledge and seek out what they need. Finally, I had the absolute honor to proclaim April in Washington County as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. I did that in partnership with the Children's Safety Center. They have a new building out by the Arvest Ballpark. If you haven't been to see that facility, please reach out to that organization if you'd like a tour and just learn more about the absolutely incredible work they're doing on behalf of our youth and our children in this area. You know, a lot of people say it, we hate to have the need for that facility, but man, are we blessed to have those people in that building doing the work that they're doing. And so I want to come up with more ideas of how we can continue to support that organization and their fine work. And so my office will are just putting some ideas together, but also always looking for input from you guys. Most important thing is they have in front of what is that facility now, what they're calling the shop. And it's an area where children who have come in and seek the services of that organization can get some things that they might need. And it's toys and it's blankets and it's coats, but it's also hygiene products. And I think that's very telling to the kind of situation that some of these children are in. And so absolutely just blessed that they're here in Washington County. And so with that, we'll move on with the meeting, and I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate it being given the opportunity to give some updates. With that, we're going to move on to new item number 8, which was item 042 that was added at the front end of the budget. Counselor, would you like to go over this and introduce this item, give it some background?
This ordinance here is an ordinance that repeals ordinance 2023-26, which I provided each of you a copy with. That was an ordinance denying a conditional use permit for the Eagle Crest substance abuse facility. The reason we issued this ordinance and are asking you to consider this is the County Attorney Baker and I have had a chance to look over the ADA claim. What's happened in this case is this case was initially brought in state court. And in state court, whether the issue is whether or not you were arbitrary and capricious, which I don't believe the Quorum Court was in your findings, you had good reason for why you voted the way you did. What's happened is that has been the plaintiffs in that case have moved, Eagle Crest has moved to dismiss their claims in state court to refile in federal court under the ADA claim. And in doing so, they have provided us with some arguments and information that we have both looked at. And after reviewing that information, it is our opinion that in a federal court under the ADA and the Fair Housing Act, that Washington County is not likely to prevail in this. Specifically, the issue when this was brought to the Quorum Court for a CUP was a treatment facility in a single-family residential neighborhood. And our code is single-family residential, and they weren't going to be a single family. Clearly, you've got people that aren't related. There's a memo that was issued by the Department of Justice and the HUD, Housing and Urban Development, that I think hit this pretty square on the head when it said that you can't discriminate against it in a single-family resident neighborhood because it's a treatment facility. And so I think with that information and with some of the other information that was provided, my opinion of this has changed on whether or not this should require a conditional use permit. And so it's for those reasons that I bring this to you to give you the option to make that determination. Certainly, if we don't do anything and continue how it is, there will be a lawsuit filed in federal court, and we'll go on with that. What the outcome of that is, nobody knows. What the ramifications for the county are, but we'll certainly fight that battle and move on. So.
With that, are there any questions for Counselor Lester or Counselor Baker? Justice Pond?
With this brought to light, this new information we have on this, I move to pass this ordinance to repeal.
I have a motion to pass by Justice Pond, and I had a second by Justice Dennis. Further discussion? Justice Simons?
Thank you, Chair. Counselor, is there a financial cost to repealing this, or is this our kind of one last chance to make this right before it gets too far gone?
I mean, right now, there's not, we're not out of, a small financial costs. I mean, the copy of some depositions that have been taken in this case by the parties involved, what that financial cost could be later, I won't speculate. I don't know. It could be nothing other than the time and energy expended by the county attorney's office in that. I was reminded of another lawsuit that happened that went to federal court, and I believe either the magistrate or the federal court judge required the entire quorum court to be present all day without any compensation to sit in order to make a decision. And so those are certainly things that, because when we get to doing things like this, there's possibilities, something I would have never thought of for that. And so, anyways, for various reasons. So there are things like that to consider. I couldn't tell you that was going to happen one way or the other, or if there would be any other financial cost to the county. But this is the opportunity for us to look at it and if we think we are in violation or we're not likely to prevail, to kind of stop our effort at that point. But ultimately, it is your decision.
Thank you.
Justice Pond, I just want to confirm after you made motion, you didn't have other comments. I feel like I moved on and might have cut you off. Is that, okay. All right, thank you, sir. Justice Secchi?
Thank you. I was on the court that time when the federal judge requested every quorum court member to be present at that hearing. I think Justice Pond was there as well. And it went all day. I'm saddened by this because we did fight hard for the residents and we did listen to their concerns. Having this facility right there in the middle of a retirement community. And I felt at one point when we did vote, you all won. We heard from our constituents and we defended your right to have peace and quiet in your small little neighborhood. And Eagle Crest had proven that it did disrupt your everyday lives. But they brought up issues that were so subtle that I didn't pay attention to it. So that was my fault, and it had to do with the American Disability Act and discriminating against anybody with a disability and not giving them proper housing. I'm sorry that this has happened. I wish there was something that this court could do to change this. But at this point, it looks like Eagle Crest is going to be given the opportunity to conduct their business. And it is with a heartfelt apology that this has happened. There's nothing we can do. And I'm sorry. And I thank y'all for coming all those months and the emails and the phone calls. So that's all I have to say. And I know I'm supposed to address you, Judge, but I felt that the community needed to be addressed and acknowledged that this is their community and it's going to be disrupted. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Justice Secchi. Further discussion by the court on item 042? Public comments on item 042? You're going to have to hit the button on the very right, I believe. There you
Members
go.
of the court, Judge, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Steve Zaga. I'm one of the attorneys in that case. I represent the interveners. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I respectfully disagree with the legal advice you're getting tonight. There is a case from the Eighth Circuit that says they have to ask you for a reasonable accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act or the Federal Fair Housing Act. They didn't do it, at least not to my knowledge. But the bigger question I've got for you is, why is this being considered tonight on an emergency basis and it's not published on your agenda? I'm here to tell you that a lot of folks in Northeast Benton County, or Northeast Washington County, rather, are not happy that they didn't get notice that this was coming to you. This question is before the Circuit Court of Washington County right now. And the question before the Circuit Court of Washington County is there a federal law that prevents you from telling a facility like this they have to comply with your zoning laws? If they prevail on that question, in other words, if Conway Lakeside wins in the litigation that's going on right now, that there's a trial date in 3 weeks for, they've lost this question. If they win, we're wrong, they get to operate. There is no emergency. The emergency is that Conway Lakeside doesn't want the court to make that decision. That's the emergency. So with due respect, this is not an emergency, and this case has been going on before the Circuit Court for almost a year now. The law hasn't changed, except I would respectfully submit in a case called One Love Housing LLC versus City of Anoka, Minnesota, a case that came out on February the 15th, 2024, that quite bluntly says what I just said to y'all, and that is that the owner and operator of a residential sober living home and that home's residents were refused a waiver from this city in Minnesota, and the Eighth Circuit said the City of Anoka, Minnesota could enforce its zoning laws. I leave that to you. It's your discretion, but I respectfully submit to you that bringing this tonight at the conclusion of state law litigation that is about to decide this question is an attempt to end run the court upstairs. Thank you.
Public comments on item 042. Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item 042 by Justice Pond, a second by Justice Dennis. Mr. Allen, will you please call a roll?
Justice Lyons.
Yes, sir.
Can I step back a minute? Before we vote, given what we just heard, is there a reason we shouldn't table this until after the circuit court rules? Counsel?
Let me just state this. Mr. Zager represents a party has very much an interested party in this. Mr. Zager is not your attorney. You know, the way I look at this and this, why don't we have a chance to have people come and talk? This isn't about what the public opinion is. This is about, you know, whether you take the legal advice of who the people you pay to give you legal advice or not. I respect Mr. Zager's comments and his position, but that's the position of his client. We don't sit as his client. We don't sit as Eagle Crest. We sit as a governing body that has a decision to make into whether or not what we did was right or wrong or should go forward or not. And so ultimately, that's the question. That's the only reason. And so there is no end around. There is no conspiracy or anything. This was brought to us, and I have an obligation as your attorney to bring to you and give you advice. And so the question is, like anything else, if a doctor told you you had cancer, would you say, well, I'm going to wait treatment because I want to ask my neighbors what they think, right? So that's why while I appreciate that, you could get 100 other attorneys with 100 different opinions who'd come in and give you that, but that's up to you. I mean, that is ultimately up to this court to decide how it wants to handle this. So that's completely up to all of you. I've done my job, Ms. Baker's done her job. We've given you our legal opinion. Now you as the client get to either take that or not.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Allen, will you please continue with the roll?
Justice Lyons. Yay. Justice Ecke. Yay. Justice Dean. Yay. Justice Washington. Abstain. Justice Koger. Abstain. Justice Dennis. Yay. Justice Hires. Yes. Justice Rios Stafford. Yes. Justice Lemming. Abstain. Justice Ricker. Yes. Justice Pond. Yes. Justice Wilson. Yes. Justice Simons. Yes.
Item 042 passes. Item number 8. Counselor, will you read item number 8 by title only?
Item 8 is an ordinance amending the purchasing budget for 2024.
Justice Washington, would you like to introduce item number 8 as the sponsor?
Thank you, Judge Deakins. Excuse me. So during our last meeting, we talked about this, and unfortunately, we did not get the good vote. But I would just like to remind our colleagues that one of our priorities with the county has always been to be able to attract, recruit, and retain quality employees. And I believe that by us amending this budget, that will allow us to do that. I also would like to point out that I know there were some concerns about us amending budgets, but in the last meeting, we unanimously voted to amend the budget for the comptroller, the jail, IT, and JDC. And with a supermajority, we voted to amend the road department's budget. So I would ask that we seriously consider this. I will be moving that we suspend the rules, move this to the third reading so that we can have a discussion about this, iron out any of our uncertainties so that we're able to take care of our employees.
I have a motion by Justice Washington to suspend the rules and move it to a third and final reading. Do I have a second on that motion? Second by Justice Dean. Justice Coker, do you have comments on the motion to suspend the rules or on the?
No, I just wanted to make a motion to second it, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Motion to suspend the rules and move to the third and final reading by Justice Washington, a second by Justice Dean. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item will move to the third and final reading. Counselor, will you read that for third and final time?
An ordinance amending the purchasing budget for 2024.
Justice Washington?
I move that we pass.
I have a motion to
ordinance.
pass item number 8 by Justice Washington. Justice Coker?
Second.
Second by Justice Coker. I want to take just a moment here to take all the blame for this particular issue, and it's my fault. And why it's my fault is I want to reiterate this. What we've probably done is a very poor job of explaining the situation to you as justices so that we can make the right decision here for one of our exemplary employees. And that is, this employee was left out of those grade changes last year when we did that. I think if we can all recall in the run-up to the budget, I said we were trying to get all the grades where they needed to be so that then we can move on with the raises or merit raises or whatever we wanted to do last year in the budget process. I feel like that responsibility fell upon me as the county judge for this employee, and that didn't happen, and that's my fault. And I think there's also questions of why didn't the employee do it. That employee was busy taking a 2-person department to 1 and greatly improving that department. We have much better leadership and representation in the purchasing department. I want you guys to understand there's a lot of leases and things and just the procurement process that office handles, and I think she's doing a wonderful job. I would also, Director Pascal has the intangibles that I look for in our leadership team, and that is the person who cares more about the person next to them than themselves, and that they are looking for ways to make Washington County better outside of projects that are dictated or given to them. And one of the things I'd like for you all to know is last year, Director Pascal came to us and said, I'm really concerned about our auto inventory, our automobiles, where those stand. And through her efforts, everything was updated. And guys, I don't want to scare you, but we had 100 automobiles on the wrong side of insurance one way or the other. And so due to her due diligence, we removed the old automobiles off our insurance that weren't there and added the ones and got them appropriately documented that were there. And so those are the types of things that I really appreciate about our employees. If you want to hammer frugality and you want to hammer fiscal responsibility, I'll have that discussion with you all day long, but not about an employee who I think is being punished right now punitively through something that is not her fault. And even above that, she's gone above and beyond anything we've ever done. So I just want to say that. And hopefully we can get a good vote here. With that, Justice Coker?
Yes, thank you, Judge. I agree with what Judge Deakins just said, and I want to urge my colleagues to please vote for this. I interact with the purchasing department a lot, and whatever I've asked them for, she's always been very prompt and very courteous and very kind. And I see the work that she does with all the bidding and the process that we have. And she deserves this, and she deserves more. So I'm going to please ask that you please vote for this. Thank you.
Justice Pond?
Judge, in a way, I'm kind of disagreeing with you on some of your apologies you made, which I don't believe you should have. We have too many employees. This county, it's necessary for this county to have these employees to serve the people of Washington County. And with that many, you're going to have issues like this come up. Somebody's going to fall through the cracks here and there. I don't believe we're ever going to come up with a year that something like this doesn't happen. And that's part of our job, to determine whether this deems our attention. And that's where we should be concentrated on, whether this should be looked at or shouldn't, not that we missed something. We missed one of the, it's not just a needle in the haystack. We're talking about the employees, the most valuable asset that the county has. And I'll not, if there was any mistake made, we just overlooked, you know, you just had something that was overlooked. It's not, the mistake would be just to stomp my foot and say, no, too late, we gotta go another year. As far as I'm concerned. We've got to look at these things and determine, use some judgment. And of course, I'll be voting yes, even though I disagree with part of your apology that you shouldn't have made. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Justice Pond. Thank you for Justice Coger. We strive for perfection. We know that's unobtainable, but especially with our workforce. And that's why I've taken this extremely hard, is it involves the workforce. Justice Ecke?
Thank you. No one can say it better than Justice Pond. Those that I had the privilege of serving with you all on the Personnel Committee, and our objective as the Personnel Committee is because we value and we recognize the value of our Washington County employees. Therefore, we passed unprecedented pay raises. And I say that the pushback that I had is in process and procedures and not knowing it and not having my finger on the pulse. It had nothing to do with the value that this employee brings to Washington County and the services that she gives and her time that she gives to members of this court and to the public. It had nothing to do with that. And I'm in support of this because we do recognize that value, and there should be a dollar sign behind that value. So just wanted to give a little bit of clarification on why I jerked my head up and said, wait a minute, what's going on? And it had to do with that. And it's so that way in the future, we will recognize these processes and procedures and ensure that this never happens again. What do we need to do that nobody falls through the cracks and nobody gets left behind? And so I just want us to learn from that. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Justice Coger?
Yes, thank you, Judge. I thought of something when you were talking about the vehicles that had been removed. Also, there was a backhoe that was purchased by the Sheriff's Department in December 2022 didn't even go on the insurance until January 2024, and I suspect that she had a lot to do with getting all that equipment added. Not a backhoe, a bobcat. Sorry.
Justice Lyons?
Thank you, Judge. So the staff member, great staff member, deserves a raise, no question about that. When we passed the budget for this year, in my mind, I drew a line that things that change, we need to consider. If something didn't change, then I have a hard time considering it. But what I heard tonight that I haven't heard previously, it sounded like I missed something has changed. And I'm just trying to resolve that in my head.
Yeah.
That it wasn't that she got the grade promotion and we just missed the budget. We missed a grade promotion altogether, and we're now giving that to her? Is that the change?
We went through a process last summer to where we were reviewing all of our employees to make sure, and working with HR to make sure they were in the correct grade. I think there was a couple complications in that. That was right when we had that staffing change in that office. So Director Pascal was new as a director in the leadership team. Once again, she took a two-person department, and she's the sole person now there. And what I'm saying is, so she didn't have another department employee to bounce ideas off of or whatever. And then throughout that process, once again, my fault, we never got her included in those grade evaluations to confirm. And once again, that's my fault, and I take responsibility. So listen, I want you to be comfortable with this. New spending, I take that very seriously, and I've heard from you guys, and I understand that, and I'm a big proponent of that too. The reason this bothers me is I feel like she was inadvertently left out of a process that every other employee had the ability to participate in last year.
Okay. And that changes.
Yep.
Because I hadn't heard that before.
Well,
In
and
in my mind, she'd gotten the grade, we just missed putting in the budget, right? And that's not a change, and that's not what I'm hearing. We missed her altogether through the process.
We missed evaluating her all through the process.
Thank you, Judge.
And that's what, that's why I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I have a deep respect for you. I have not maybe communicated this as well as I could have, to give you guys all the knowledge to make the decision that you need to make.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I mean, because again, what I approved last time, there was a change.
Yep.
So it's a very simple line for me this year.
Sure.
Looking at what we did last year, my first year of learning, right? If there's a change that occurred, we need to support, then we've got to change the budget, right? So that's just kind of where my line is and what I'm trying to get my head around, so appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Justice Ricker?
Just a quick question. You said she took a two-man department and reduced it down to one man. Was that last year's budget, or were there two appropriated for this year?
There are two appropriated for this year.
So we're,
I would
got
like,
an empty one.
yes,
All
and
right.
I understand you guys' frugality once again. My thing is, I'd like to keep that position for a few more months to make sure she's still not in this position for a year. Does that make sense? And so, as she's going through her procedures and stuff, she might need that other staff member. I'm not sure yet. If there's any chance at all we can avoid that and save that for the county, we absolutely 100% will. Any further discussion on item number 8? Any public comments on item number 8? Seeing none, Mr. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Justice Lyons.
Yes.
Yay. Justice Ecke. Yay. Justice Dean. Yay. Justice Washington. Yay. Justice Koger. Yay. Justice Dennis. Yay. Justice Hires. Yay. Justice Rio Stafford. Yay. Justice Lemming. Yay. Justice Ricker. Yay. Justice Pond. Yay. Justice Wilson. Yay. Justice Simons. Yay.
Item number 8 passes. We'll move to item number 045, which was added at the beginning of the meeting. Do you want to introduce this? Counselor, would you like to introduce this for us, sir, and read it first time by title only?
So this is an ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for CDS Motorsports. As you all are aware, if you can look down at item 9, we're on a third reading for the CDS Motorsports, and the original or the initial ordinance was an ordinance to ratify. It was brought to our county planning team's attention, and they went out to investigate, and what was applied for by the applicant is not what you will see when you go out there. It is quite a bit. There's several other buildings. There are some other things going on. And so with that, and in talking with J.P. Pond, who can talk to this because he's been out to look at it, it is in his district. I believe we were told that there would be a residence, and it's clearly there will be no residence there. It's just going to be commercial. And so because of the change, we feel like the right thing to do is to have them reapply to include those changes in their CUP. And so at the request of J.P. Pond and with talking to planning, this ordinance would deny the conditional use permit, but would also direct them to reapply for a new one. And as you can see in Article 3, you know, we have an ordinance in 2021-26 that talks about not bringing the same or similar ordinance again. And this would specifically state that we're not going to enforce that here because we're asking them to come back in. It's not exactly the same, but it kind of is. And there's a whole more issues with that, but I'll leave it there for now.
Justice Pond?
Yes, there's several things there that come to mind. Not only are they not, first of all, I would say there's not much pressure on us about holding this developer up from doing what he does because he's already doing it anyway. He's already doing commercial business there. So we're not under any kind of pressure to hold him back from that. But I've not only heard from county staff, but also from people in the neighborhood that will tell me, and I don't mean just in the neighborhood, I mean live very close, that they have many concerns about it because of the close proximity. Their sleepy, quiet little neighborhood has not been that for quite some time now. With all the construction going on, also, from what I understand, this has become more of a larger scale of commercial development. And I don't believe I've had any indication that they've installed any kind of sprinkler or foam system in the building. We're talking about a warehouse type building that has a shop in it, a mechanical shop, plus stores several thousand gallons of racing fuel. I just, since they've, made their footprint a little bigger, if you will, as far as commercial construction, I believe we just need to start all over with them, whether they're going to comply or not. I'll just tell you up front, there was not a way that I could have voted to pass on their development tonight on this third reading because they haven't complied. You're not going to get a flood of people from that neighborhood come in here. They're a little intimidated at this point. So I moved to, how do we just move to adopt the new ordinance?
You'll need, it's on its first reading right now, so if you want to try to do it tonight, you'd need to move it, suspend the rules, move it to a second and third reading.
Is that, that's likely what we need to do? That's probably the most urgent thing, to inform this developer that we're looking for some compliance. His neighbors are looking for some compliance. And they're not gonna talk to him, they're talking to me. I just need to tell them I'm gonna be out of town for a while. I'd move to suspend the rules and move this to second reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move to a second reading by Justice Pond. I saw second by Justice Ricker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Counselor, will you read that for a second time?
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board for CDS Motorsports.
Move to suspend the rules and put it on the third reading.
Second.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move it to a third and final reading by Justice Pond, a second by Justice Ricker. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Counselor, will you read item number 045 for the third and final time?
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board for CDS Motorsports.
Move to pass 045.
I have a motion to pass by Justice Pond, second by Justice Ricker. Any further discussion? Justice Lyons?
Thank you, Judge. Is the applicant here? Do we know? No. Director, he didn't show? So I want to present, sir, if you could put those pictures up I sent you, just so everybody understands what's being said here. Here's some site pictures of what we're talking about. So remember, the cup was for a single building by some size to do this business in. You'll see there's two plus buildings out here. It's basically, what is that, Director? Steel siding. He's storing, as I said, thousands of gallons of fuel in there that we've all been concerned about. We struggled how to put conditions in the place that protect the firefighters that go out there if there is a fire, the residents, et cetera, and went to that end. So, I mean, I put this together because I was ready to vote no for this in the third reading today. Because again, this is not compliant with what he's applied for. So agree wholeheartedly with this. Go ahead, please.
Everyone. Yes, just a clarification to what JP Lyons just said. So that's the initial application. If you move, David, you keep moving. So like, it was supposed to be like one building for the business, and the initial like application was for this, and it's like less than 1 acre. That, however, it was like less than 1 acre. The because of the impervious like surfaces and the size of the building and like the activities that's going to take, it's going to be applied there. Like the recommendation from our engineer was like to move it to a large scale, but now it's like definitely large scale. So if you move another like another slide, another one, there was supposed to be a house somewhere, but that house turned to be like another hangar basically for his business. So now he has like 3 storage buildings. That is like definitely bigger than like 1 acre.
And one of the conditions we put on this was to maintain it within that size of acreage that he's.
Yes, sir.
And so he's extended upon that.
Yes.
So, again,
And
I
then,
agree.
yeah, the initial like application for like 1 building, now
Right,
it's more.
exactly. So, appreciate it, Judge.
Justice Fleming?
Thank you, Judge. Brian, is there a way that we can tell him to stop business there? Is that possible, or are we just going to let him recycle his CUP?
So we can ask them, we could go forward and move forward with a legal proceeding and ask the court. What we get into here is an issue of posting a bond, because technically to issue a temporary injunction, you've got to post a bond equivalent to whatever money. If you were to lose your permanent injunction, you then owe them the money that they lost. It's been the policy of Washington County that we try to see these to fruition. We give people the benefit of the doubt. For other things, you know, once they file an appeal, we no longer have an enforcement mechanism. We can't write them a ticket. If we do this, we can write them a ticket for operating every day in which that they're operating until they appeal this. So our hope would be that they'd come back in and reapply. Now, that certainly doesn't mean that, you know, we can't try to do something in the interim. But if they come in and they're attempting to get a conditional use permit and they're going through the process, it's probably not likely that a court is going to issue an injunction telling them they have to shut down and stop until they get it done. And we understand that. And so, yes, this is something that when we send this back, we will certainly send a letter that says, hey, you've got to reapply. We need to know that you're going to do that. We have another applicant who applied and then never has moved forward with it. We're getting ready to ask the courts to get involved in that. We do try to give the residents and applicants the opportunity to come into compliance, or at least show us that they're wanting to go through the process. And then we let that get to the end. And at the end, if a court says, no, you can't do it, then we ask that court to issue an injunction, and they can shut it down at that point.
That's good to know. If the guy would just put a sprinkler system in, meet Arkansas State fire codes, everything would be cool. But he just seems like he's not going to do that for some reason. And the fire chief out there, he's very scared of it. He's done told his people, if it catches a fire, we're going to stand back out here and watch it. And you hate for him to do that, but you can't blame him. I mean, because that's liabilities, big liabilities. So, okay, thank you.
Justice Coger?
Thank you. Attorney Lester, when you were speaking just now, you kept saying "we." Was that the county you're talking about that would do that? Because what recourse do the neighbors have out there if, first of all, he doesn't reapply, but it just goes ahead, and during the process, after he files the application, a reapplication, whatever, what recourse do the neighbors have? Because we heard about how loud that testing machine was. It was like more decibels than a jet engine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder what they can do during this time.
Well, they have the civil remedies also, that they could go and ask a court to do certain things and enforce, certain rules. And if it's a sound, then it's a nuisance that they could go and ask a court to get involved. So there are remedies for the neighbors. But when I say we, I'm talking about the county as a party particularly. Yep.
What, does the county have a noise ordinance?
No, the county does not have a noise ordinance.
So how would they do that without a noise?
Well, I mean, excessive noise can be a nuisance even without a noise ordinance. A noise ordinance just allows the sheriff's office to go out and write a ticket and make, you can add a fine to it. But I mean, a nuisance is a nuisance, whether there's a law that prohibits it or not. It can be a nuisance even without a specific law.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion on item 045? Justice Wilson?
I just wanted to make sure I understood a couple of things, because we're dealing with a situation here where it's made clear that we've got a situation where they're not in compliance. And my question is, we talked about some extra conditions and in the past, and that this should align with what the fire department expects to begin with. My question right now is, are they in violation of that, or are they in violation because they did more construction and this is bigger than we thought it was, or maybe it's both? I mean, I don't know.
So until the project is done, I guess we can't really say whether or not they're in violation of the fire codes, because, I mean, they could come in and add whatever they needed to add. But once they're operating and they're not operating in compliance, then they're, in violation of those codes. The issue here is what they originally asked for would not trigger what we call a large-scale development. And that's to say that the project footprint itself of all the buildings and everything is over 1 acre or larger. So what they initially applied for was much smaller than that, I think about 3/4 of an acre. But because of what they've actually done now in adding these other buildings, they have exceeded that 1 acre footprint, which would require, it would kick in an administrative, and it's all administrative with the planning department and the planning board, but it would trigger the large scale development standards to come in. And so it adds another layer to making sure that the parking is right, the lighting, there's a lot more that goes into it. And so our concern here is because what they have built is now larger and triggers that large scale, we didn't include that in this conditional use permit, that if passed tonight, that's what it would be. And so we're saying, hey, come back in and resubmit, because now you're subjecting yourself to a large scale development given the size. And it adds some layers of protection for the neighbors and for the applicants in the county.
Well, it just sounds like, I mean, knowing the history of this and what I remember about our conversations, I didn't know there was a lot of people really enthused about this to begin with, and now we've got information about this looks like a bigger operation that doesn't fit the original description. So I guess that put it even more on our radar. Is that accurate to say that? That's all I had, though.
Any further discussion on item 045? Public comments on item 045. Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I had a motion to pass item 045 by Justice Pond, second by Justice Ricker. Mr. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Justice Lyons? Yay. Justice Ecke? Yay. Justice Dean? Yay. Justice Washington? Yay. Justice Koger? Yay. Justice Dennis? Yay. Justice Hires? Yay. Justice Rios Stafford? Yay. Justice Lemming? Yay. Justice Ricker? Yay. Justice Pond? Yay. Justice Wilson? Yay. Justice Simons? Yay.
Item 045 passes. That'll move on to item number 9. Council, will you read item number 9 by title only?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for CDS Motorsports.
The operation here, under the guidance of our counselor, with what we just passed before, would be to make a motion to pass this and everyone vote against it to defeat the motion. So I wanted to try to lay that out because it's kind of counterintuitive, if you will. We have a motion that we have an ordinance that's went through 2 readings. It'll be on 3rd reading. Well, it's went through 3rd reading now, so we need to make a motion to pass. Thank you. Okay. All right. I have a motion to pass by Justice Lemming, a second by Justice Lyons. Any discussion on item number 9? Any public comments on item number 9? Seeing none, I have a motion to pass by Justice Lemming, second by Justice Lyons. Mr. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Justice Lyons? No. Justice Ecke? No. Justice Dean?
No, sir.
No. Justice Washington? No. Justice Koger? No. Justice Dennis? No. Justice Hires? No. Justice Rios Stafford? No. Justice Lemming? No. Justice Ricker? No. Justice Pond? No. Justice Wilson? No. Justice Simons? No.
Item number 9 fails. Item number 10. Counsel, will you read this for the second time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board of Adjustments for Kindness in Motion project.
Justice Dean?
Thank you, Judge. I did go over and I looked into this. I was there for quite a while. There is no noise from the business. There's no problem with the EPAs or nothing like that with chemicals. I guess the biggest complaint I have is trafficking, and which they claim that there will be no trafficking, that the people do not come there. They do everything mobile. And there's 2 or 3 people that work there. And, you know, it just seemed like a pretty quiet thing. So I moved that we pass it on to the 3rd reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move it to the 3rd and final reading by Justice Dean. I have second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Those opposed? That, Counsel, will you read that for a 3rd and final time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning Board of Adjustments for Kindness in Motion.
Justice Dean?
Okay, I believe that we should just move it on for vote.
I have a motion to pass by Justice Dean, a second by Justice Lyons. Discussion about this item? Justice Koger?
Thank you. A question for Justice Dean. I didn't understand from the last time that it was all mobile. I thought we had clients coming up there. Is that not correct?
The clients, they're not going to come there. The building that they constructed, it's not very big. It's like a small home. And they did it to move them out of the house. That's where they've been conducting business for 6 or 7 years, has been out of the home. The traffic that they have had was the building materials and the people building the structure and the truck, stone, all that. That's where most of the traffic come from. However, it should die down now, and there really hasn't been that much traffic there now. And no, the clients, they will not come there. They pick up and deliver, both.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Public comments on item number 10. We'll have a 12-minute public comment period with a limit of 3 minutes per individual. Please state your name and where you're from for the record, ma'am. I'm sorry, you're going to do me a favor. Hit that button on the very right. Yes, ma'am. One more. Go down on the front. No, I'm sorry, on the front of it, on the right. Yeah, we got you some. There you go. Sorry about that.
Thank you. There's so many buttons. My name's Robin Riddle, and I live in Weddington Woods, and I have used the service of the ladies. I have a dog who's very reactive. I can't even get her in the car to go and get shots. So for me, I would be really honored to have them in the neighborhood. And they're good people. They're doing a good thing. They're employing a few people, which we always need employment. So I would encourage everyone to allow this to go through. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Additional public comments?
Hello, you guys. Thank you for having me, each and every one of you. I am a person that lives directly across the street from Sandy. And I don't know how to say this. It's disrupted our lives, our economy. Our real estate is probably going to diminish by quite a bit. And I don't disrespect Sandy at all. I encourage her for her business, but it does not belong in our community as a residential versus a commercial area. And so with that said, I hope that each and every one of you, if you put your house right across the street from mine and you build a commercial building and you open up an office, is your real estate going to go down? And will you allow that to be in your neighborhood? I ask you that. I ask each and every one of you that. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Sir, what was your name for the record? I'm sorry, we didn't catch it when you sat down.
Russell E. Powell.
Russell E. Powell. Additional public comments? Guys, if you want to speak, let's get up here and get ready. You're cutting into everybody else's speaking time.
Walking fast as I can. Sherry Main, 15451 Riches Road, Fayetteville. I did some research on this to try to get my head wrapped around it to understand what the aquamation process is. And from what I learned and Googling and everything online, it's a biocremation, a green process. And I'm guessing that they're trying to do this in other areas with human corpse as well. It just breaks down. It uses water and alkali to break down a corpse. If you look online about it and read about it, I don't really, I don't live in Whittington Woods. I live in West Fayetteville. I have other problems in my area that are bigger than this, but I understand these people live there and they have it around them, and they have to live with it. So that's what you're voting for, is if it is within the parameters of allowing it according to the planning ordinances we have, or if it is outside of the perimeters. And if it's going to decrease people's value of their real estate and their properties, y'all know, you've heard them many times, all of the rules for the planning ordinances on how to pass a cup. And I just ask that you go through each one of them, and if it checks them all off, in your opinion, vote accordingly. If it doesn't check them all off, in your opinion, then vote accordingly as well, and make notes, because this stuff's not easy, I mean, to decide. And I get that, and I understand the position all of y'all are in. I've been through many of these, some good, some bad, and some ugly, and I understand. I'm just saying that check the boxes. If they all check, before you actually just vote no or vote yes, make sure you're voting accordingly to what the rules are for the planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments? Seeing none, we're going to take up the question. I have a motion to pass item number 10 by Justice Dean, second by Justice Lyons. Mr. Allen, please call the roll.
Justice Lyons. Yay. Justice Ecke. Yay. Justice Dean. Yay. Justice Washington. No. Justice Koger. No. Justice Dennis. No. Justice Hires. Yay. Justice Rios Stafford. Yay. Justice Lemming. Absent. Justice Ricker? Yes. Yay. Justice Pond? Yes. Yay. Justice Wilson? Yes. Yay. Justice Simons? Yes, Yay.
Item number 10 passes. With that, we're going to move to item number 11, which is the consent agenda. Counselor, will you read these items by title only?
Item 1 on the consent agenda is an ordinance recognizing additional revenue in the unappropriated reserves of the 911 fund for 2024. Item 2 is an ordinance adjusting carryover revenues in various funds for 2024. Item 3 is an ordinance amending the county library budget for 2024. Item 4 is an ordinance establishing the Ballard Creek Bridge Grant Fund and matters pertaining thereto. Item 5 is an ordinance appropriating additional grant revenue in the Brentwood Playground Grant Fund for 2024.
Justice Lyons?
Thank you, Judge. I make a motion we pass this consent agenda.
I have a motion to pass the consent agenda by Justice Lyons, second by Justice Dean. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? Justice Dennis?
Thank you, Judge. I'd like a little explanation on the library on, is it a vehicle they're buying?
What that was, and Counselor can chime in if he needs, we had put a vehicle in their budget for the 2024 year. They were able to obtain that vehicle in the 2023 year before the end of the year. They didn't know they could get that accomplished before the end of the year. So this is additional funds in their budget now that they want removed and returned to the unappropriated reserves of the library fund, which is totally funded out of special sales tax. Justice Ricker's pretty.
Okay.
So this is deappropriating the money and returning it to their reserves.
And on the vehicle though, that's what I'm curious about. What is the vehicle used for?
They have vans that they have a network, of course, of all the county libraries around, and they move books around, trade books. You can go into the West Fork Library, and if another library in our system has the book, they'll courier that to that library if that's the one you can go to. And so they're constantly moving things back and forth of that nature.
Well, thank you.
I got to tour that a couple months ago, and it was my fault I'd never been down there yet. They have a loan system that's could be possibly worldwide. It's nationwide right now, to where they're actually sending books out too throughout the mail.
Well, I asked the question so that the public can hear us talk about it.
Sure.
And understand what is happening.
Yep.
Versus just hearing us always have a consent agenda and saying, yes, we consent.
We have a fine library system in Washington County we should be proud of, and I think
Well, yes, we do.
Director,
I'm
not insinuating
I'm
that.
not against the library. I'm not against the vehicle.
Director Aldrin and their board do a tremendous
I just wanted
job.
the folks
Sure.
that listen to understand what the vehicle's for.
Yes,
Thank
sir. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Public comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Allen, will you please call a roll on the passage of the consent agenda? Motion by Justice Lyons, second by Justice Dean.
Justice Lyons? Yay. Justice Ecke? Yay. Justice Dean? Yay. Justice Washington? Yay. Justice Koger? Yay. Justice Dennis? Yay. Justice Hires? Yay. Justice Rios Stafford? Yay. Justice Ricker? Yay. Justice Pond? Yay. Justice Wilson? Yay. Justice Simons? Yay.
The consent agenda passes. With that, we'll move to item number 12. Counselor, you read that item for the first time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Hairstream Salon project.
Justice Ricker, do you have any comments on this evening?
Sure, far as I know, there were anybody that spoke up against it through planning. If the director if you got anything else to add on it.
Just a quick remark. They're moving their business from the city of Fayetteville to the county. It's going to be, it's a tiny place. It's like 2.15 acres. They're going to have like the owners and her son, like the only like employees. They're operating like a hair salon and an Airstream, and that's all about it. We never had like any feedback from the neighbors. Nobody objected to it. And they're gonna have like a tiny sign 3x4 just to advertise for it by the road, and that's all.
Justice Ricker?
Make a motion to suspend the rules and move this second reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move it to the second reading by Justice Ricker. I heard second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Counselor, will you read this for the second time?
It doesn't do it on, sorry, I don't know. An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Hairstream Salon project.
Justice Ricker?
Make a motion, suspend the rules, move it to third and final reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move it to the third and final reading by Justice Ricker, a second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Counselor, will you read that for the third and final time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Hairstream Salon project.
Justice Ricker?
Motion to pass.
Motion to pass item number 12 by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Lyons. Any further discussion by the court? Any public comments on item number 12? Seeing none, Mr. Allen, will you please take up the roll? This is for passage of item number 12. Motion made by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Lyons.
Justice Lyons? Yes, sir. Yay. Justice Ecke? Yes. Yay. Justice Dean?
Yes, sir.
Yay. Justice Washington?
Yes.
Yay. Justice Koger?
Yes.
Yay. Justice Dennis? Yay. Justice Hires? Yay. Justice Rio Stafford? Yay. Justice Ricker?
Yes, sir.
Yay. Justice Pond? Yay. Justice Wilson? Yay. Justice Simons? Yay.
Item number 12 passes. Item number 13. Counselor, will you read that by title only?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Superior Equipment Service project.
Director Ada, you want to give us just a quick background of this, just a quick
Absolutely.
summary of this project?
So it's a tiny like vacant building that's been there like for years. It's an existing building. It's going to be reconfigured. It's 60 by 100. It's going to be houses like two employees for their like operation that is like mostly going to be conducted like in the field. They're basically just parking their like equipment when they come back. Hours of operation like Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I believe like one of the applicant is like also like an engineer, so like that's like what basically their business is. We haven't had like any feedback or any like objection from the neighbors, and it's like on Wooten like road, like southern like side of like highway like 170. So there was no objection. Even like we did not get any feedback from any other departments in the county. So it was a smooth ride.
Justice Ricker?
Motion to suspend the rules, move to second reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move to the second reading by Justice Ricker, a second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Counselor, will you read that for the second time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Superior Equipment Service project.
Justice Ricker?
Motion to suspend the rules, move to third and final reading.
Motion to suspend the rules and move to a third and final reading by Justice Ricker, a second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Counselor, will you read that ordinance by title only for a third and final time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Superior Equipment Service project.
Justice Ricker?
Make a motion to pass.
Motion to pass item number 13 by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Lyons. Further discussion by the court? Justice Rio Stafford?
Thank you, Judge. So as I was reading through the documents correctly, so this is, the building already existed, the storage building. They were using it for personal use, and the only thing that's really changing is they want to use it for commercial storage. now.
Yes, and like we've done this before, so in case like if any of the neighbors like complains or like anything happens or like their business expands, like they're gonna have like cars in and out like with the sign on it. People like if anyone complains, why? Because they already have like their own like businesses, and I guess like they're like also like an LLC. If they have to go and get like money or like get like funding or anything, they have to have like a permit, some sort of permit that allows them to do that
Okay.
through the bank. So it's
Okay.
also like it serves everyone.
And they're on a major highway, you said?
Yes, close
Okay.
to, yeah, it's
Yeah.
close to like 170. so,
170?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. It seems like this is the kind of thing that as we look at revamping our county planning and zoning ordinances, that things like this might be the kind of thing, exactly that we want to look at with adding the commercial zoning along highway corridors and things like that, so that folks may not need to go through this process.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Further discussion on item number 13 by the court? Any public comments on item number 13? Seeing none, Mr. Allen, will you please call the roll on item number 13? This is a motion to pass made by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Lyons.
Justice Lyons. Yes, sir. Yay. Justice Ecke. Yes. Yay. Justice Dean.
Yes, sir.
Yay. Justice Washington. Yes. Yay. Justice Koger. Yes. Yay. Justice Dennis. Yay. Yay. Justice Hires. Yes. Yay. Justice Rios Stafford. Yes. Yay. Justice Ricker. Yes. Yay. Justice Pond. Yes. Yay. Justice Wilson. Yes. Yay. Justice Simons. Yes, yay.
Item number 13 passes. Item number 14, counsel, will you read that by title only?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Rock and P Jigs and Outdoors project.
Director Addo, will you just give us another summary of this project, please?
Absolutely. It's a one-man operation. Basically, the applicant is like running a business, small business from his home. He's producing hand-tied like fishing jigs. The applicant is basically the only employee, and he is not expecting any customers in. It's mostly going to be just like delivery trucks, like UPS, like USPS, and he's selling everything basically like online. The only reason we ask him like to apply, same reason in case like if he needs to get funding or he needs to expand, he already has his like CUP permit, so he can like move forward. Yep.
Justice Pond, sorry, you're saying, Justice Pond?
Yes, what reading is this on?
This is the first reading.
This is the first reading?
Yes, sir.
This is such a small operation. This fellow's just gonna be employing himself, not gonna have a lot of traffic moving in and out of there. I'd move this to the second reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move to a second reading by Justice Pond. I believe I heard second by Justice Lyons. Was it you? By Justice Lyons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Counselor, will you read that for a second time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Rock and P Jigs and Outdoors project.
Justice Pond?
Move to suspend the rules and put this on the third and final reading.
Second.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move it to a third and final reading by Justice Pond, second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Counsel, will you read this item by title only for a third and final time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Rock and P Jigs and Outdoors project.
Justice Pond?
I kind of like the name this guy picked out for it. That's pretty slick. I move to pass.
I have a motion to
14
pass
by-
item number 14 by Justice Pond, second by Justice Lyons. Any further discussion by the court? Justice Rios Stafford?
Thank you, Judge. This is another one where I was surprised to find out that, the applicant even needed to, get a CUP for this kind of business. So if I had a knitting business at my house out in the county, I would have to get a CUP to
We're working
sit at
on, like-
home and knit and sell the knitting online.
We're working like on like maybe adding, I believe, right? Like if there is like it's a home business-based business, like
Yeah.
to just like not require any, and if it's not like that big, so we're working on it.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is if, as we revamp our zoning, if maybe we can look at something where, because so many people now since the pandemic are
Yep.
working at home or being entrepreneurial or things like that, maybe certain kinds of home-based businesses should be allowed by right.
Yeah, it should be like on the draft, like we send you like the office home like businesses, it should be like included.
It's
like,
in there, okay.
Yeah, it
All
should
right.
be there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion by the court? Any public comments on item number 14? Seeing none, we're going to take up the item. Mr. Allen, will you please call a roll? This is the motion to pass item number 14 by Justice Pond, second by Justice Lemming.
Justice Lyons. Yay. Justice Ecke. Yay. Justice Dean.
Yes, sir.
Yay. Justice Washington. Yay. Justice Koger. Yay. Justice Dennis. Yay. Justice Hires. Yay. Justice Rios Stafford. Yay. Justice Ricker. Yay. Justice Pond. Yay. Justice Wilson. Yay. Justice Simons. Yay.
Item number 14 passes. Item number 15, council, will you read that by title only?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Old Cabin Food Trailer Project.
District 14, an economic hotbed this evening.
Aye.
Director Adam, will you please give us a quick summary of this project?
Absolutely. Yes. So it's basically like a tiny food truck on like a 3/4 of an acre. It's going to be, it's going to have like 2 employees, a gravel parking to accommodate like up to like 9 vehicles. Their hours of operation is going to be Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's not like a big operation. It's like the north side of East Devil's Den Road, like western side of like I-49. They're gonna have a tiny sign, like, and a gate, and it's gonna be secured. So it's gonna be like, basically, it's gonna have a gate, like, and a fence around it. And it's actually like the business is the food truck. The historic like cabin is the point of attraction. So they have like a cabin from the Civil War era, like in the area. So that's basically what they're trying to do. And at the moment, they are like working with the health department for the food services to get all the permitting required before they start operating. We haven't had like any objection or like any comments from any of the neighbors.
Justice Ricker?
Motion to suspend the rules, move this second reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move to a second reading by Justice Ricker. I think I had second by Justice Hires. That's what I'm going with. I think. There is some subjectivity to this. I don't know if you've noticed. Okay, I have a motion to suspend the rules and move to the second reading by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Hires. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Council, will you read that for a second time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Old Cabin Food Trailer Project.
Justice Ricker?
Make a motion to suspend the rules, place this on third and final reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and move to the third and final reading by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Hires. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Council, will you read that for a third and final time?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the planning board for the Old Cabin Food Trailer Project.
Justice Ricker?
Motion pass.
I have a motion to pass by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Washington. Any further discussion by the court on this project? Any public comments on item number 15? You're going to have to hit the button on the very bottom on the right. There you go.
Sherry Main, 15451 Riches Road, Fayetteville. I tend to agree with everything that J.P. Rio Stafford said about in the new ordinances. I just had a couple of comments in the new proposed draft that was given to everyone.
Ms. Main, we want public comments on this item.
I know, I'm getting to that.
Well, you haven't teed it up very well. Are
Do I get
they
my
comments specifically to this item?
Do I get my 3 minutes right now?
If you can comment on this item.
I'm
Okay,
getting
please
ready to.
continue.
Is this a mobile cabin food trailer, or is it going to be stationary? Are they going to have deep fryers? Or do they have the permits with DEQ for the grease and the disposal and things that they need of this sort? We kind of get rushing through these, it seems, and we forget to ask important questions. So those are just 2 things that came to my mind. Sorry for taking up y'all's time.
Thank you. Further public comments on item number 15? Seeing none, Mr. Allen, will you please call a roll? This is on the passage of item number 15. Motion to pass by Justice Ricker, second by Justice Washington.
Justice Lyons. Yay. Justice Ecke. Yay. Justice Dean. Yay. Justice Washington. Yay. Justice Koger. Yay. Justice Dennis. Yay. Justice Hires. Yay. Justice Rios Stafford. Yay. Justice Ricker. Yay. Justice Pond. Yay. Justice Wilson. Yay. Justice Simons. Yay.
Item number 15 passes. Justice Ecke?
Judge, I'd like to ask for your indulgence during item number 16, committee reports, if I can report on the AAC state meeting that we had this past Saturday. And
Absolutely.
I'll be as brief as possible.
Other than I would just say that the committee reports listed are in your packet. With that, Justice Ecke?
Thank you. Certain items I think that would be very much of interest right now. I'm having issues with the state not paying their bills, and this is one of them. The state sales tax, or the sales tax that is collected, the state turns around and offers rebates to large corporations for over $2,500 repairs or purchases. The rebates come from counties and cities' sales tax collections, not state sales tax collections. They continue to collect 6% of the sales tax they received. So they made the decision that they're going to give the rebates, but we're going to pay for it. Secondly, I was asked, well, the state prisons, they still are waiting for 2,200 beds to open up, and these people have already been adjudicated. They're just waiting. And of course, that puts the pressure on our county jails, because the state's not doing anything to help expedite that situation. There is a Protect Arkansas Act that they're trying to pass, and it's a board of corrections to determine paroles. The other thing that we discussed was constitutional amendments, and one, I'm very proud that our state representative, Robin Lundstrom, introduced HJR 1006, and that has to do with our scholarship lottery fund. And her amendment opens up to students, and it extends it to technical schools and vocational schools, whether they're private or they're public. As it stands right now, you can only apply for scholarship if you plan on going to a 2 or 4 year college or university. And she felt that that was unfair to people who just don't want to go to college or can't afford to go to a university. And I think it's great that she's kind of making it available to everybody. So kudos to Representative Lundstrom. Another one that was certified by the AG is that it requires 93,000 signatures, and they must come from at least 50 counties if you want to have an amendment placed on the ballot. And this is just a sample ballot that was being passed around. The other one is the abortion laws. They're trying to get to, which creates 18 weeks of unrestricted abortions. The third one is the LEARNS Act, requiring equal standards for all schools. And they want to expand this to pre-K to 3-year-olds. The fourth amendment that I believe is going to be on the ballot is medical marijuana. This one personally concerns me. At present, only a doctor can issue a certificate of medical marijuana, and we have conditions and where you can purchase it to make sure that the marijuana is not laced with fentanyl. Well, they want to change that. They want to lift those restrictions. They want to have osteopaths and nurse practitioners, chiropractors, and even pharmacists to certify a medical marijuana certificate. And non-residents can also come to Arkansas and apply for that and receive one. and you can purchase it from wherever you want. And that's the concerning part. It's not, so it could be imported from China and you have no idea it's coming in. So these are amendments that are under consideration that the AG has not approved of just yet, and that is absentee voting. We weren't given very much information on that. They're just trying to change the language on it. And then local voters are really upset with casinos coming into their areas, and it's not all the hype it's supposed to be. Then the other one has to do with FOIA amendment, Arkansas Government Disclosure 2024, concerning open meetings. Some of these proposed amendments are getting so restrictive that if you were to have a meeting, Judge, with another elected official, it has to be open to the public. You cannot have a one-on-one meeting. If you were to call in a single justice to your office to just discuss whatever, it has to be an open meeting. Those are just different types of, there's the Arkansas Government Disclosure Act, open meetings, and then the Arkansas prohibits open meetings. I can't read my writing there, but there's two of them that are under consideration by the AG, and they haven't passed just yet. The other one, if I may, I will just email, it's just information on compensation for JPs, and depending on how large your county is, and I'll just send that out to you, that you can just get that information for yourself and look at it and consider what you all want to do as a court with our compensation. And that's my report.
Thank you, Justice Secchi. I appreciate your attendance, and I appreciate the AAC. I appreciate everybody coming tonight. It was great to see all the faces. We'll be adjourned.